What's up, guys? Welcome to Superwise. I'm John, and I watched Marvel Studios' Black Widow, the long-awaited MCU film. Now, before I tell you guys my thoughts, some context for people who don't know. So, Black Widow. I wasn't going to see it, honestly. I was planning on skipping it. The trailers didn't win me over. I thought the clips that were released were really cringy and just bad. Wasn't really excited or even interested in Black Widow. But as the release date neared, I somehow, became more interested. I just miss going to the theaters, and I miss seeing a big MCU film on the big screen. The last MCU film we all saw in theaters was Spider-Man Far From Home back in 2019. Crazy, right? So I saw Black Widow in theaters, and wow. I really liked this film. Surprisingly. I thought this was just going to be another generic MCU jokey film, but no, I was proven wrong. I didn't just like this film, I really liked it. If I had to rate it, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think Rotten Tomatoes, their score, the critics' score, I think is, the 81%. I think that's fair. I give it an 8.5. I really like this film. So first off, Kate Shortland did a pretty good job directing this movie. This movie has a flair to it. It's shot well. Lorne Balfe is a very good composer. He did the score for Mission Impossible Fallout, which was great, and here he does a solid job. Nothing memorable, but good. The film is surprisingly tonally consistent. The clips that were released of this film were very jokey and they were just really cringy to me. But in the context of the film, this movie is surprisingly mostly serious with drama. It doesn't feel like your typical MCU film. I mean, let's talk about that opening montage. Very dark, very, very serious. And the MCU really doesn't have a lot of opening montages like that. The credits usually go after the film, so this was a nice change. Now, the jokes. The jokes looked very cringy in the trailer and the clips. In the context of the film, I think a lot of the jokes work. The jokes really complement the charisma of Yelena and Alexei, Red Guardian, who we will get to individually. But yeah, the jokes, some of them didn't work, didn't land, and they kind of ruined the intensity of the scenes. But for the most part, I think the jokes were funny, and they worked. The action was really good. I mean, it wasn't anything special, but it was cool. It was well choreographed. It looked like the punches hurt. I love that fight scene between Black Widow and Yelena. I mean, that was just brutal, visceral action. When people get hurt, there's blood. And I just think the film's story overall is really engaging, and it's sort of tragic. It's emotional. Black Widow and Yelena dealing with the fact that they had a fake family, to begin with, that they were indoctrinated and they were stolen from their childhood. Then the family comes back together and there's tension because of Yelena and NATASHA'S feelings. I think it's really well done. It's really emotional. I think each member of the family is fleshed out. Natasha, Scarlett Johansson herself, she is really good in the movie. She shows her emotional acting chops, and she's good. Yelena Belova. Oh, Yelena. So when the clips were released and they showed Yelena, I hated her. I thought her accent was stupid. I was like, oh god, she's gonna be the jokey, annoying character. But I went into this film with an open mind, and guys, I freaking love Yelena. She was my favorite character in this movie, and I don't agree with the reviews saying that Natasha, this isn't her movie, it's Yelena's movie. I don't see that. I felt like this was very much Natasha's movie, but yes, Yelena was the standout. Her jokes land, and I think her jokes work because she's cynical. But I love her jokes, the posing bit, I thought it was pretty funny. Her just talking about how much she loves the pockets in her suit, that was funny. The hysterectomy joke, I was cracking up. That scene in the jet was so funny. So Yelena is very likable, and I think she's really well fleshed out. I love that scene between her and Red Guardian. They're just singing American Pie, remembering her childhood, and she was just talking about how she loved this family. She thought this family was real. I just love Yelena, and I can't wait to see her in the future of the MCU as the new Black Widow. We're definitely going to talk about that post-credit scene later. Alexei, Red Guardian. David Harbour did a really good job in the role, and I just like the character. He's the counterfeit version, Russian version of Captain America, and he has a nice emotional arc throughout the movie with Natasha and Yelena, you know, talking about how he was a fake father and him coming to terms with that, you know, abandoning his daughters essentially. And I love that scene where Red Guardian is there for Yelena and they're just singing American Pie. That was a nice scene. Alexei's jokes also land for the most part too. David Harbour is pretty funny. And Melina. Rachel Weisz is a very good actress. She didn't have much to do in this film. She has a nice emotional arc with the entire family, but there's not really much to say about her other than she was really good in the film. Now, Taskmaster. I was excited to see Taskmaster in this movie because I'm a really big fan of the character. And on the surface, Taskmaster was cool. All the fight scenes with her, really cool, really well choreographed. But when we get to the core, yeah, Taskmaster, it was an underwhelming, disappointing reveal. It makes sense for the story, but it was just sort of lame. I didn't like how Taskmaster was sort of like a mindless goon. Again, it works for the story, but I want the real Taskmaster. I hope this is just like Taskmaster 1, and then the real one comes along. Hopefully there's a retcon of some kind, because I want to see the real Taskmaster. If this is the end of Taskmaster in the MCU, it's going to be really disappointing, because Taskmaster is just so cool, has so many cool abilities, and he should stay in the MCU longer. This chick turns good by the end of the movie, so she's not going to be Taskmaster anymore. No future appearances. Like, man, MCU better get their stuff together. Taskmaster needs to be better. That's a common complaint from everyone, that Taskmaster is underwhelming. You know, Marvel, like with the Mandarin, they need to correct this. They really do. They need to make just a better Taskmaster. Then the movie ends with it tying into Infinity War, with Natasha having her blonde hair, the vest from Infinity War, which we find out is Yelena's vest. The movie ends. Then, that post-credit scene. Oh boy. So, the post-credit scene, first off, I liked it, because it made Natasha's death a little more impactful, a little more emotional, because now Yelena's there, looking at her tombstone. You could feel Natasha's absence. Then we see Val from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was cool. But obviously there was the stinger. When Val handed Yelena the tablet, and she was like, "You want to find the man who killed your sister? Here you go." And it was Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye. Man, my entire theater went, oh, like we all lost our minds, because this is clearly setting up a conflict in the upcoming Disney Plus series, Hawkeye, which I was already looking forward to seeing, but damn, I can't wait to see it now, because now we got Yelena into the mix. So yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed Black Widow, surprisingly. I love Yelena. I can't wait to see her as the new Black Widow in future MCU projects. Couple complaints, some of the jokes didn't land, Taskmaster, the handling of Taskmaster, and there were some pacing issues, but besides that, I really had a fun time. This is a really good movie. Go out and see it. You're gonna have a great time. So tell me in the comments down below, what did you think of Black Widow? Were you excited from the beginning, and were you satisfied, or were you like me, who wasn't really excited and went in and actually came out, you know, really liking it? It was a nice send-off for Scarlett Johansson. So let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tomorrow I'm planning to do a Black Widow spoiler live stream, just really going into like everything more in depth. Come and join, trying to get a panel, we'll see. But yeah, that'll be all for me. Remember to subscribe, and remember my catchphrase, guys. Stay super wise.